Hi, so today we are harvesting the potatoes directly from the ground. Let's watch the fucking Guardian.
Dress it up, subvert it, deny it all you want. Marriage is an institution that has curtailed women's freedom for centuries.
Well, that's a claim. You may say that marriage curtailed women's freedom, and you can say that marriage protected women. And if you are at the opposite side of the coin, if you are a MGTOW, you can say that marriage is designed to curtail freedom of men and steal their resources. It is a relationship as any relationship. It is two-sided. There are two people pulling the saw and two people are in the marriage. One can screw the other. Gender is irrelevant in that case. But let's go on.
But instead of rejecting the patriarchal and outdated tradition, some feminists have decided to reclaim it. We may have progressed since the Industrial Revolution.
Some feminists, never say the name, never start the internal conflict. Just some feminists. No, no need to say the name. And as for the outdated tradition, how do you think children are made? We are not dwarfs. Young people just don't spring up from the ground. There need to be male and a female partner to create a children, and children need resources to be brought up, and if you pull them by cooperating, the both partners cooperating to bring the child up, the chance of success is improved dramatically. There is no other way to reproduce the human species without some way of two partners who make a child cooperating. No other way. You can theoretically work around it by institutionalizing childcare, but have you fucking seen for example, the American system of orphan care? It's the reason why they have so many serial killers, let's be honest. Let's go on.
Mary Wollstonecraft described marriage as little more than a state of legal prostitution. But let's
Yes, that was in the Industrial Revolution, and while the wife was home, being in this state of prostitution, where do you think the husband was? In the fucking coal mine. So this is just an outdated claim.
kid ourselves. Even today, marriage is not about equality.
Obviously, no one fucking never claimed marriage is supposed to be about equality. Some things are not feminist. Probably most of the things aren't feminist, but you fucking hate everything that isn't feminist, so that's why you need to make this feminist or make this your enemy. Marriage isn't about equality, it's a situation when two people are together because they have emotions that bind them together, and it's a relationship. In every relationship there are two sides cooperating, so there is not no equality. Some partner is weaker in something and other in other things. There is no such thing as equality in marriage as in a matter of reality. There is law. There is supposed to be equality in marriage in the matter of law, but that the MRAs should talk about this with you, not I.
It's about perpetuating male privilege.
Male privilege. Fucking what the fuck is that? Nobody knows. It's some magical force that perpetuates the patriarchy, and nobody will ever prove it. Nobody. Never. But it is perpetuated by marriage, because if you see, if you love someone, the other sex, you fucking hate him and you want to kill him down. What is this logic called? It's crazy logic. You don't want to be privileged as an opposition to your partner. You want to keep him happy, and if the partner is disadvantaged, you want to help him. If women would bring less money into marriage, thanks to some kind of a magical law or something, the husbands would be pissed because the money is pulled together. You retard.
Being given away by your father may seem cute and romantic, but it stems from a time when women were seen literally as their father's and then their husband's property.
Yeah, exactly. It stems from a time, so you see, past tense. Now it's only a tradition, it's a symbol. And even in those times, the reason why it was transacted from the father to the husband was because the thing that was that was exchanged was usually large amounts of money that the usual that for sometimes the husband, sometimes the father paid for the for basically for the privilege of the bride being protected. It was about protection in medieval times and in lately. The idea of romantic love is something really new in our society. This is just symbolism and you are blowing it out of proportion
The majority of brides still opt for a white gown.
because it makes them thinner. You should really look into it. And also it's just a nice tradition.
Yes, indeed.
But the implication that brides should be virgins is both ludicrous and insulting to women.
Then why are you introducing it? Nobody said anything about it. It's a fashion choice. You are once again seeing fucking spiders when they are kittens.
That a female who has had sex is somehow spoilt goods goes against everything feminists claim to stand for.
And who exactly suggests that the over-sexualization and all this male gaze is the Satan? I believe feminists, so get your feminism straight.
I know feminists who've taken their husband's name because they say it's easier. Easier than changing your passport, email address, utilities bills and bank account details, I suppose.
Yes, this is pretty annoying. Also, the alternative is just to keep your name. But why do people do this? It's a tradition. Also, if your name is a brand, then generally the wife keeps the name. Also, if the the wife is the famous person and the husband is the less famous person, there are instances that the husband gets her name. It's a exchange of power usually, and usually the wife takes the husband's name just because that's how it's done. There is no grand conspiracy behind it. It's just you know I don't want to introduce sound like I do the is ought fallacy, but it's not how it ought to be, but it is just how it is. I don't know how else you would want to do it, but I don't know how else anyone else would want to do it. This is just simple. You see the name of the husband, the name of the wife, and the name of the children are the same, so that they can fucking identify one another in a in a in a crisis situation. It's easier. It's that's why names are. That's why we have two names to identify each other, and that's why we have family name to know who the fuck is with us and who is against us. That is how it was created.
You're basically being branded, so anyone who sees your name knows immediately who you belong to.
And your husband now has your and his family now has you in them, and if you fuck up, then all of his family is implicated. It is mutual exchange.
Even if a woman does away with all these traditions, accept it. Marriage can never be a feminist act.
And how exactly it is supposed to be a feminist act? It was never supposed to be a feminist act. Feminism has nothing to do with marriage, and marriage has nothing to do with feminism. Marriage is when two people have a relationship and then they want to make it formal and reap the benefits from the state. Feminism is ideology that has something to do with females and with hating males. How exactly were they ever being connected in the first place? I don't know. But I agree, marriage can never be a feminist act. There is only a very few things that can be a feminist act, and marriage. And nobody should ever try to make marriage feminist act because it will end up terrible like everything that feminists ever do.
It has formed the backdrop to women's oppression for centuries.
And women's protection for centuries. You see, in old times, before technology and law, by the way, law is a social construct, so, be careful next time in the dark alley. So there was rough times, and women needed protection from other women, males, pillagers, raiders, whatever, natural catastrophes. And also males needed to be sure that they are raising the children that they need. So males and females banded together to raise their children, and by combining the skill of the female and the skill of the male, the children was born and raised successfully, so that the way that marriage is working today in almost all parts of the world is how it is because of evolutionary reasons. It is not some kind of oppression secret system. Marriage is not the neuron in the brain of the patriarchy.
And it continues to do so. Forced marriage, child brides and polygamy all show how human rights violations of women and girls all too often go hand in hand with marriage.
Uh, Polygamy is not a human rights violation. If you want to have a husband and be his his third or second wife, and his first or second wife are okay with it, and you are okay with it, and he is okay with it, there is no violation of anything. You have a right to live your life how you want. And as to the child marriage and the forced marriage and the children prostitution, let's just keep on watching. It will be explained in a minute.
It was not until 1991 that rape in marriage was made a criminal offence in England and Wales.
And this is totally irrelevant because you see there are you can imagine like three boxes. It is the thing that happened now, then there are the things that happened in the past, and then there are the things that will happen in the future. They are connected, but we are in the now, and those things that you just talked about are in the past, and this is just irrelevant to the discussion.
And today, it's still perfectly legal for a man to rape his wife
In all those countries, and have just fucking try to identify the problem with these countries. Afghanistan is a predominantly Muslim country torn in the civil war. Algeria is a predominantly Muslim country that is currently after political unrest. Bahrain is a Muslim country. Bangladesh is a Muslim country where it is generally common for people who are secular to be hacked with a machete. Botswana is a country in Africa that's incredibly poor. Brunei is a Muslim country. Central African Republic is going through a civil war like forever. Chad is a very poor country. China is a totalitarian oppressive regime that mainly is just terrible in all ways. Child marriage is the last thing they have to, and rape in marriage is the last thing they have to deal with. They sell their prisoners for organs. Democratic Republic of Congo is in a civil war. Egypt is a predominantly Muslim country recently in political squabble. Eritrea is in the state of total failure, is a dictatorship, also Muslim country. Ethiopia is a one-party system with large amounts of political unrest. Haiti is just a hellhole since its independence, and it has been in squabbles forever. India is a is predominantly Muslim countries. It is also like very oppressed. What am I saying? Predominantly Muslim country, fucking shoot me. India is a predominantly Hindu country, but there are many Muslims and there are many people who are not really happy with free thought and generally freedom. In India, there is fucking prohibition in some states. In Indonesia, there is around 80% Muslims. In Iran, it's a theocracy. It is literally forbidden not to be Muslim in Iran. You can go to prison. Iraq is in a state of civil war. Ivory Coast is an incredibly poor country in Africa. Jordan is doing relatively okay, but it is still a Middle Eastern country. Kuwait is one of the more liberal Arabic countries in the world. Laos is in Asia, and it is the one of the not well off countries in Asia. Lebanon, Libya, Arab countries, and also not so very progressive ones. Libya was recently led by a relatively progressive leader, but then he was, but with help of Hillary Clinton, removed and civil war erupted. Malawi is an African country and it is currently going through an economic growth, so situation will change. Malaysia is not the friendliest country you want to be. Mali is uh, also country in Africa and also with a big Muslim population. Mongolia is a big place with very small percent of population and it is generally considered not well developed. Outside of the capital, it's like Middle Age. Morocco is a Muslim kingdom. Myanmar is one party state led by the military, where the military leads everything, and so there is not so much possible for progress. Nigeria, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Muslim countries. In Saudi Arabia, women can drive. In Saudi Arabia, women can't leave their houses. Okay, Senegal is an African country that is very poor. Singapore is just is interesting exception. I will have to look into Singapore because Singapore is a well-off country and it is well developed. I guess they just have never introduced the law because perhaps they have rape and marriage in the single category and they never thought that you would not consider it a rape if it happened in marriage. South Sudan is in a state of civil war because of the fact that it was recently part of Sudan and it split off because of religious violence. Sri Lanka was in the civil war 20 years ago and it is still coping with the results. Their leader of the Tamil Tigers recently said that he was just fighting for social justice, so I guess it's okay. Sudan, same case as South Sudan. Syria is hardly a country anymore. Tajikistan is a very weird place. They recently started fighting Islamism. They banned beards. Not kidding. Tanzania is a very poor country in Africa. Tunisia is a big Muslim state. United Arab Emirates, well, United Arab Emirates. Uganda is very poor African country. Vietnam is a genocidal state. Not anymore, but it used to be. Now it's just communist dictatorship. Yemen is in the civil war because someone get the idea that if we just, take the Yemen and take the South Yemen and make one country out of two, it will work out. Fucking CIA forever. And Zambia is a poor country in Africa. So what you just have said has no implication. This list is totally irrelevant to our conversation because I believe that by the fact that you are working for the Guardian, you are doing this for the women in Britain because you are talking about feminism. In none of these countries there are women that would identify as feminist for various reasons. And in most of these countries, Islam is a force that is present, and feminists and Islamists fucking love each other because you remember burqa prevents the male gaze, so it's win-win.
47 countries worldwide. So if you want to get married, then just get on with it.
Yeah, because getting married in Bristol, England, or in fucking Baghdad is the same thing, because it's like context doesn't matter at all.
But please stop pretending that because you're a feminist, it's some kind of subversive statement. I love Snoop Dogg, despite his woman-hating lyrics.
Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.
But I don't pretend that listening to him is a feminist act.
You could. You could theoretically, there is a way that you can make everything a feminist, but then you will fucking have to drop the Marxist part out of the feminism. You can theoretically say that everything that woman does of her own will is feminist by definition because feminism is liberation of women. But you will never say that because that is not your brand of feminism.
And women should stop pretending that marriage is anything other than a tool for their own oppression.
Yeah, because marriage has nothing to do with protection of the woman, with protection of their property, with protection of the family's uh, property, with fucking, I don't know, making children perhaps. How do you think people are born? I already talked about this.
Anyway, as the late human rights lawyer Paula Ettelbrick said, marriage is a great institution, if you like living in institutions.
Why women
Living in institutions. Well, marriage is a relationship that has official parts in it. There is no living in an institution sounds like if we are living in an asylum. I mean, someone here needs to. I am not the one, so figure it out. By the way, try the white dress thing. It makes one slimmer. It really works. It's a thing with the perception of the colors. If you are wearing black dress, you look like a fucking battering ram. If you are wearing white dress, you look slimmer. So that's it. That's the fucking Guardian. And all good luck on the fucking glory road, I guess. So bye.